God, why did they have to stop segregation?
Mr. Smith, the answer is dp over dt equals 200. Well, it seems you are correct, but black kids don't have any bit of brain in their heads.
Hey, I'm Aurora, and this is the story of how I was able to help one of my closest friends get revenge on our racist and creepy teacher. It's quite an interesting story, really, and I'm happy to share it with you all. So, I first met Jalen when I was a sophomore, but he'd just started high school. About half of the school year had ended and he'd just transferred in from another school. My first impression was that Jalen was a pretty quiet kid, and he was very lonely, so I decided to go up to him and start a conversation. Hey, I'm Aurora. What's your name?
I'm Jalen. Can I ask you how I can get to my next class?
Sure. I'll even walk you if you like. He was a very nice kid, and soon enough, we traded numbers and even worked on some homework assignments together. Because Jalen was incredibly smart, he was ahead of his grade and was in my math class, which was calculus. He also just treated everybody with kindness, and I think that's what gained everybody, including the teacher's respect. But when the next year started, everything changed. Jalen and I found out that we were in the same class, which was awesome. The downside was that the teacher was the most horrid man you could ever meet. I've got a lot to say about him, so hang in there. This man's name was Mr. Smith, and he was just not a pleasant man in general. First of all, his classwork was just insanely difficult, and only the smartest of the smartest kids in the class could just barely pass with an A. He was incompetent when it came to communication with the students as well. Overall, people did not like him, but they had no choice but to act like they at least tolerated his existence, since the teachers were oblivious to his personality. I'd heard about Mr. Smith from his former students, but nothing could ever prepare me and Jalen for what we were going to experience. Right as the school year started, Mr. Smith told Jalen to sit at a desk in the far back of the room, which was already weird. Jalen and I shot glances at each other when Mr. Smith did this for the only other dark-skinned student as well. He then started to seat us in a very abnormal pattern. The white kids were in the front, with Asians and Latino students in the middle of the class. However, Mr. Smith put me in the front of the class. But I was Asian. Okay, strange. I decided to not dwell too much on this seating arrangement and see how Mr. Smith was going to teach first. And boy, was the first experience insane.
I'm Mr. Smith. We are jumping right into our first lesson. Mr. Smith, I think you're on Unit 3? Too bad. You keep talking when I'm trying to teach. I'm glad I put the bad kid in the back. I knew you'd be up to no good. But the other kids are welcome to ask questions.
I was completely flabbergasted. Did this teacher really have the audacity to call Jalen a bad student because of confusion? And the way he decided to skip the most crucial parts of the course was crazy. For the rest of the period, the kids asked him questions while he answered them nicely, but completely ignored Jalen and the other girl, Michaela, who tried so many times to even get his attention. And after his entire lesson, in which half the class got lost on, he gave us a pop quiz. We got our results immediately, and to my surprise, I failed miserably. This wasn't possible. I'd been trying my best to pay attention the whole time. I began asking the class around. Every student in the class got low D's or C's, while Jalen and Michaela had low F's. I reviewed my answers with other students, and despite getting almost the same answers as them, I got a lower grade than them. Jalen's answers were mostly all correct, but the mark said that he'd failed. This just didn't add up. The next day, Michaela immediately transferred out of the class, which was good for her. Unfortunately, the school didn't let Jalen do the same for whatever reason. Mr. Smith just got worse and worse as the year went on. Mr. Smith would blatantly say that he didn't like the way Jalen talked or looked at him. The teacher would also comment on how Jalen probably cheated his way into the class, because apparently, kids like him weren't capable of having a higher IQ. It's stupid reasoning, honestly.
Kids that look like you are always stupid. You can always tell from the skin. Shut up and sit down before I give you a referral.
Now, wasn't this just insane? Mr. Smith continued to give other kids passing grades while Jalen and I's grades suffered. But while Mr. Smith berated Jalen constantly, he seemed to have nothing against me. One day, I decided to talk to my teacher and ask him what was going on. Mr. Smith, Can I ask you why I got a 25% on this assignment? I triple-checked and my answers were correct.
Well, you seem like a very nice girl. I'll see if I can change your grade.
And what about Jalen? He got a perfect score as well, but you gave him a 0.
Who cares about Jalen? You and I both know that black kids like him don't make it anywhere in life. You're a pretty little girl. Keep away from that boy. He will just ruin you. I'll change your grade for you just because you're special and so beautiful. Don't tell anybody.
Well, that definitely sounded threatening. This just kept going and going and going as the days rolled by. My grades were changed, but Mr. Smith also started acting a little weirder towards me, but more racist towards Jalen.
Jalen, I told you to stop talking right this instant. Sir, that was Mike, not me. Mike is a good kid. This behavior is only going to get you into prison later on. You've probably already been in juvenile hall a few times.
God, why did they have to stop segregation?
Mr. Smith, the answer is dp over dt equals 200. Well, it seems you are correct, but black kids don't have any bit of brain in their heads. I'm issuing you a detention from cheating off my other students.
Oh, hell nah. This was getting too far. And why didn't any other student try and speak up for Jalen? Jalen and I decided to confront Mr. Smith right after class. When the bell rang, the other students quickly got up and left while Jalen and I waited. I got up and walked to Mr. Smith's desk. Mr. Smith, I think treating Jalen like trash and underestimating his abilities is a really scummy move, especially since you're a teacher and Jalen is one of your students.
Sir, I'm sorry if you feel any sort of discomfort towards me, but I am simply trying to learn like everybody else. How dare you think it is right to talk to me? Don't you get it? I see you as nothing. You will be nothing. You will do nothing. You will eat nothing. You will make nothing. Why would I waste my time on someone that I know is going to fail in life anyway? Get out before I call in security. But Aurora, wait.
Jalen quickly left the room in anger. I was very confused, but I obeyed. I was still fuming from everything that the math teacher had said to my friend, and I was just about ready to punch him square in the face. Maybe I could go talk to a counselor instead to sort out this situation.
How many times have I told you not to stand up for that black kid? He's only going to drag you down. Maybe I'll have to punish a naughty girl like you. You'd like that, huh?
What the hell? I immediately felt weirded out and made some lame excuse before leaving. I knew that Jalen and I had to take this into our own hands. So not only was Mr. Smith an ignorant and racist being, but he was also a creep. I went over to his house and we started thinking of a plan. What should we do?
I'm not sure at all. Wait.
I watched curiously as Jalen ran out of the room, coming back a minute later with a pen and a tiny phone. How's this gonna help?
Well, this pen actually has a microphone inside it, and I can easily hide the phone so that I won't get caught. I can videotape, and maybe you can have the pen so the microphone can pick his insults up better.
Sounds good. Where do you even find a microphone pen?
I have my ways.
We had our plan ready, and we were definitely going to get our evidence. Better sooner than later. The next day, we walked into class and waited for it to start. I turned on the pen Jalen gave me, and he started the camera. Mr. Smith walked in and almost immediately started throwing his insults.
Mr. Jalen, the color of your skin really infuriates me sometimes. But you might be a little lucky today. I'm going to be pounding on the whole class for yesterday's quiz results.
Although Mr. Smith claimed that he was going to bully the whole class today, he quickly switched back to harassing Jalen again.
Jalen, how does a black kid get 85% on a math test? Haven't I warned you enough not to cheat? They should make physical punishments legal again. That way, I could teach you a lesson like how they taught your ancestors. What? Mr. Smith, that's a really unconventional thing to say. You need to stop racially profiling me and being racist. All I'm trying to do is just learn. Oh my goodness! Now the minority comes crying and blaming somebody else for their own faults. I know damn well you cheat, but you play the victim card so you could get me in trouble.
Mr. Smith.
Why don't you get on the football team and do something useful with yourself rather than trying to be something you're not? Stupid kid. Shut up before I send you to the counselors again.
Obviously, Jalen and I were absolutely fuming. For the rest of the class, I recorded a few more of our teacher's very bold statements. And as soon as class ended, the two of us ran out to the front office. We plugged in the phone and microphone to the secretary's computer, showing her that we needed to see the principal immediately. She let us go in since the principal was available at the moment. We walked in with the evidence and explained to Principal Lacey everything that Mr. Smith had done. She appeared a little shocked at first, but upon seeing the video and hearing what he said, she was just as mad by the end of our story. Principal Lacey signed us out of school early and allowed us to just leave, which was nice. She promised that she'd help do something about it. The next day, Jalen and I walked slowly to math class. We were afraid of what we'd see. To our surprise, a notice on the door stated that Mr. Smith would be out of the office for a few weeks for emergency reasons. We looked at each other. Was he finally going to get kicked from the school? We soon heard around that Principal Lacey had walked straight into Mr. Smith's next class and begun playing the video in front of the whole class. Mr. Smith turned totally red and panicked while trying to explain himself. One of the students even recorded the situation, and what happened was exactly what the rumor was. It was hilarious. Mr. Smith ended up getting fired with his teaching license revoked. I also told people about his creepy behavior towards me, and other students also spoke about him being creepy towards them. Nothing was done about the situation, but because everybody knew what a terrible person he was, many parents protested him about even living in our city. We ended up getting a new teacher, and he was the best person ever. He was compassionate to the whole class and helped us get good grades. He even specially helped Jalen get A's on the grades that Mr. Smith had messed up purposefully. Mr. Smith ended up moving to a small town to try and at least tutor kids, but the rumor spread around so much that he ended up jobless. We heard the wife was so pissed and divorced him, taking along their 5-year-old son. Mr. Smith now is depressed and jobless. Jalen and I have gotten closer than ever, and this year, we are applying for college. Sophomore year was a crazy journey, but we made it through with some happy outcomes. Thanks for listening to my story, and what do you think?